A single mom, struggling to find a job, wears her late mother's pendant for luck. During an interview, the interviewer is visibly shocked by the sight of the pendant. What follows is an unexpected turn of events that could change her life in ways she never imagined.
I don't have any parents. My father was never around, and my mother, who was a baker, passed away in a car accident 3 years ago. As her only daughter, I kept the pendant she always wore as a keepsake. It's a small pendant with a cute design. Even now, I wear that pendant every day. My mother never told me where the pendant came from. Was it a gift from my father? I guess I'll never know. One morning, as usual, I put my son in the car and dropped him off at daycare before heading to work.
Bye, Mom.
Be a good boy, okay? I'm a single mom, living with my son, Mason. I divorced my ex-husband because of domestic violence. He hasn't been paying child support. Alright, time to give it my all for my son today. Mason is my precious treasure. When I arrived at work, we had our usual morning meeting.
I have some very unfortunate news for everyone.
The manager said in a serious tone. Our department has been underperforming, and it's being shut down. As a result, all of you will be laid off at the end of next month.
What? How could this happen? This is so sudden.
My coworkers started to murmur and chatter all at once. The word laid off weighed heavily on my mind. Laid off. I have to take care of my son. I need to find a new job by the end of next month, no matter what. I started searching for jobs online right away. I can't afford to take a pay cut. I need to make enough to eventually send my son to college. But finding a good job wasn't easy. Even when I got through the application process, I kept getting rejected in the interviews.
You mentioned you have a young child. How do you typically manage if they get sick or need extra care?
In those cases, I might need to leave early or take a day off, depending on the situation.
I see.
The interviewer would always look disappointed. It felt like no company wanted to take a chance on someone in my situation. I kept going to interviews, but I was always turned down. It was way harder than I imagined to find a job as a single mom with a 2-year-old. What am I going to do if I don't find a job in time? I felt completely lost. The word despair kept running through my mind. Then, something caught my eye. While attending a trade show for work, I stopped in front of a booth for a company I recognized. The project they were showcasing. It was the same one I'd been working on. But with my department shutting down, that project was being canceled too. I was staring at the display, feeling frustrated about all the hard work I'd put in. When a man from the company approached me.
You look familiar. Do you work in the same field?
Yes, I do, but I'm actually being laid off at the end of this month. There was no point in hiding it, so I told him the truth. The man handed me a business card and said,
Actually, we're hiring in our department. If you're interested, you should apply.
Really? That's great, thank you. I took the card and left the booth. The company was well known. I figured the competition would be tough and I probably wouldn't make it. But I figured I had nothing to lose, so I sent in my resume. To my surprise, I passed the initial screening and quickly got to the final interview. By then, I had already been let go from my previous job, and I was unemployed. I was getting by with some temp jobs and using up my savings to make ends meet. If I missed this chance, I didn't know what I'd do. On the morning of the interview, as usual, I paused at my mother's memorial. Mom, I have an important interview today. Please watch over me. After saying that to my mom in heaven, I picked up my son. Mommy has a big interview today. Can you wish me luck?
Good luck, Mommy.
My son cheered me on with his sweet, lisping voice. Thank you, Mason. I hugged my son and nuzzled his soft cheeks. When I arrived at the interview site, there were about 10 other people there. Only 2 of us will be chosen from this group. I was nervous as I waited for my turn. After a while, my name was called, and I walked into the interview room. The interviewers were the man who had spoken to me at the expo and a woman who looked to be around 40. For some reason, the woman wasn't looking at my face. She was staring at the pendant around my neck. Maybe wearing this wasn't a good idea. I started to regret it a little. It was my mother's keepsake, and I wore it for good luck, but what if it costs me this opportunity? Anxiety started to build in my chest, but it was too late to change anything. The interview went smoothly, with several questions asked, and it seemed like it was wrapping up. Then, the woman interviewer spoke up.
Where did you get that pendant?
My heart skipped a beat. It's a keepsake from my late mother. When I answered, the woman's face briefly showed a hint of sadness.
Your mother's name was Lillian, wasn't it?
Her words shocked me. Yes. Did you know her?
Yes. We were old acquaintances. I see, she's passed away.
She said this quietly, almost to herself. Then, she seemed to gather herself and return to a more formal tone.
That concludes the interview. Thank you for your time. We'll contact you with the results later.
The next day, Saturday, while I was at home, I received a phone call from the woman who had interviewed me. I thought she was calling to share the interview results, but instead, she said,
I'm in your area and was wondering if I could stop by to pay my respects to your mom. Would that be okay?
Of course, I said yes. A short while later, she arrived at my home.
I'm sorry to drop by unexpectedly.
She said, handing me a box of pastries.
I brought these in memory of your mom.
Thank you. I took the pastries out of the box, placed them on a plate, and set them on the kitchen counter. While I made some tea and set the rest of the pastries on the table. She took a moment to reflect quietly. After a few moments, she turned to me with a soft smile and said,
Your mom did so much for me when she was around.
Really? How did you know her? I asked, curious about their connection. She began to share a story from her past.
I met Lillian when I was 12, nearly 30 years ago. My mom was battling cancer, and my dad wasn't around. I wanted to get her a special cake for what might have been her last birthday. So I went to the bakery where Lillian worked. But even after saving up all my allowance, I didn't have enough for the cake I wanted. It was a whole decorated cake, and I couldn't afford it. So I thought I'd try to make one myself. I started going to the bakery every day, watching through the window as they work. The kitchen was visible from the outside. I tried to learn by watching them make cakes. But no matter how much I watched, I couldn't figure out how to make it. One day, when I was feeling really down, Lillian came out of the kitchen and spoke to me.
I've seen you watching every day. Are you trying to learn how to bake a cake?
Well, I wanted to make a cake for my mom because she might not be around much longer. It might be her last birthday, but I didn't have enough money, so I thought I'd try to make it myself. But no matter how much I watched, I just couldn't figure it out.
I see. How about this? You don't need to worry about the money. I'll make the cake for you, no charge.
But I don't know.
How about we make it together? I'll take care of the ingredients, so you don't have to worry about anything.
Really? Is that okay?
Of course.
Thank you so much. The day before my mom's birthday, I went to Lillian's house.
Let's get started. I've already got the ingredients ready. Now, mix the cream. Yes, just like that. Keep going.
With Lillian's guidance, I made a perfect birthday cake for my mom. She was so kind and patient, teaching me every step of the way. The next day, I brought the finished cake to my mom at the hospital where she was staying. Happy birthday, Mom. Look, I made this cake myself.
Oh, wow. That's amazing, sweetie. It's such a beautiful cake. You did a great job.
My mom was so happy. She smiled and gave me a hug, telling me how proud she was. We had a small birthday party in her hospital room. She couldn't eat the cake, but she was so delighted. That was the last time I saw her smiling so happily. The next day, my mom's condition worsened, and she passed away shortly after. I was in shock, and it took me a long time to go back and thank Lillian. But eventually, when I felt ready, I went to the bakery.
Oh, it's been a while. How are you?
Thank you so much for what you did back then. My mom loved the cake so much, and I'm really glad you taught me how to make it. I also wanted to thank you with this. I'm good at making jewelry, so I made something for you. I handed Lillian a handmade pendant. She was so happy to receive it. And that's the pendant you're wearing now.
As I listened to her story, I found myself holding onto the pendant around my neck. Then she continued her story.
After that, I was taken in by relatives and moved far away, So I never saw Lillian again, meeting her daughter in such an unexpected place. It feels like such a small world, doesn't it?
She smiled as she spoke. I didn't know what to say. Then she pulled a photo out of her bag.
This is a picture of my mom.
The photo showed a thin woman and a young girl, both smiling as they sat together with the cake on the hospital table. The woman had such a beautiful, happy smile.
Thanks to Lillian, I was able to make one last happy memory with my mom. I'm so grateful to her. I've never forgotten about her all these years. Now it's my turn to give back to her. Please, come join our company. Your experience and skills are exactly what we need. We understand being a single mom can be tough. We'll support you if you need to take time off.
She reached out, and we shared a firm handshake. Thank you. I'll do my very best. I felt a mix of emotions. Relief and joy at landing the job, gratitude for the kindness my mom had shown to a little girl 30 years ago, and deep respect for my mother. I was also overwhelmed with thankfulness for the fate that had brought this woman and me together. All these feelings swirled inside me, and I started to cry a little. Then my son, Mason, came over.
Mommy, what's wrong?
He gently wiped my tears.
Don't cry, okay?
His sweet words made me cry even more. These are tears of joy, sweetheart, I said as I hugged him tightly. After that, I started my new job at her company, where I was entrusted with meaningful work that made the most of my skills and experience. My salary was even better than before. Now, I could continue building a solid future for Mason. Every morning, I look at my mom's picture on the mantle, feeling her presence with us. Thank you for always watching over us, Mom. Just then, Mason came up beside me and spoke to the photo.
Take care of Mommy, okay? I'll do my best too.
That's my little champ. I wrapped my arms around my son's soft body and hugged him tightly. With my son by my side and my mom's spirit guiding me, I knew we could face anything together.